Missouri, Boston, Massachusetts, Denver, Colorado, Dallas, Texas, Indianapolis, Indiana, Topeka, Kansas, Richmond, Mississippi, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Charlotte, North Carolina, Memphis, Tennessee, Baltimore, Maryland, Scottsdale, Arizona, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, San Francisco, California, and Kansas City, Missouri, home of the Negro League Baseball Museum. Welcome to lunch with the Missouri Latino Congress for May the 28th, 2022. Happy Memorial Day weekend to all here. My name is Fowlkes, your host and creator along with Elder Allen. How you doing, Ray?
Fine.
I heard you got my man on it today.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you got? Well, now, see, that's how old is he now? About a year now?
18 months.
18 months? Oh, my God. And he's already getting ready to change the world.
Yes, he is.
Scott, how you doing, brother?
I am too blessed to be distressed.
Well, your weather's about to come here. It's the ride and bike time. The rain is about to cease in this area.
Yeah, I ride the bike anyway.
Well, that's why I keep in my prayers all the time.
That's right.
Yes, Scott, it's just like riding a horse, ain't it, Scott?
That's right.
Well, that's what it all takes for us to live in our country here. Anyway, we are broadcasting live on FergusonUSAHotRadio.com from beautiful Los Angeles County, St. Louis City, and Owens, Missouri. And also, without further ado, we have prayer with Elder Alden Lyles, pastor of the Walnut Park Bible Chapel Church, located 5547 Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri. That's in North St. Louis at 63120. We're going to have prayer with Elder Alden Lyles. He's the pastor of the Walnut Park Bible Chapel Church, 5547 Avenue, 63120. Reverend Lyles, somebody's getting their pipes ready. You may have prayer with Pastor Alden Lyles of the Walnut Park Bible Chapel Church, located 5547 Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri, at 63120. Rev, we got what you have for us.
Let's bow our heads.
Thank you, sir.
Heavenly Father, we continue to thank you for a wonderful gospel. How that Christ died for our sin, was buried, and rose again. I continue believing to the saving of the soul, continues to make heaven your home before you sleep and after you sleep. We thank you we are already seated in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. And we thank you that our name is already written in the book, Lamb's Book of Life. And Heavenly Father, we ask you to bless the sick all over the universe, saved and unsaved, Heavenly Father. You know what to do, Heavenly Father. And Heavenly Father, we ask you just continue. We know you are controlling what could happen and what don't happen. And if whatever happens is your will, you can make the thing change from what it really is. For all these incidents going on, you can change that. And we know you the only one can change that, Heavenly Father. And we give great thanks for that in Jesus' most precious name. Amen.
Reverend Lyles, I want to thank you for that prayer. I know that you're praying for all these young families. The babies, and it's been a hard day to be in America. Okay, second possible going to a holiday weekend, and so. But thank you for those prayers and those powerful words as usual. Okay. Okay. So what do you have for this week, Rev?
In chapter 2 of Colossians.
Okay. Then the New Testament.
And
right.
And the heading over this is said, chapter 2 said, the Godhead incarnated in Christ, in whom the believer is complete. That's talking to the believers. For I would that ye knew what great conflict I have for you, and for them at Laodicea. That's at one of them churches that was lukewarm. Laodicea church was lukewarm.
Okay.
And for as many as have not seen my face in the flesh. He's talking to us. We haven't seen his face in the flesh. That their hearts might be comforted, being knit together in love, and unto all riches of the full assurance of understanding, to the acknowledgement of the mystery of God, and of the Father, and of Christ, in whom are hid all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Your beginning with God is the fear of wisdom and knowledge when you become born again.
You know, Rev, you said wisdom, okay, that's a powerful thing for people to understand that's something that God has to give you. You just don't wake up and say, I got wisdom.
See, wisdom is this right here. He that is wise when it's sold. That's the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
But the knowledge is that you just rightly divide the knowledge of truth that you get from Christ and the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
It goes on to say, and this I said, lest any man should beguile you with enticing words. They don't be caught up by all these people with this enticing words. You know, they ain't nothing but soothsayers. Try to talk sweet to you, and they lying all along, straight through their teeth. No, they can't fulfill that. For though I be absent in the flesh, yet am I with you in the spirit, joined and beholding your art, and the steadfast of your faith in Christ, as ye have therefore received Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk ye in him, rooted and built up in him, established in the faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after tradition of men, after rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. For in him dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and ye are complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power, in whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands. Being born again is born without hands, because God is the one who does that. Not man, but God. And putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ, buried with him in baptism, wherein also ye are risen with him through the faith of the operation of God, who had raised him from the dead. He rose. He came out of the grave. That's like he said. He was down there 3 days and 3 nights. And on the 3rd day he rose. And you being dead in your sins in the uncircumcision of your flesh, had he quickened together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, took it out of the way, nailing it to the cross, over 2,022 years ago. And having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it, that no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink, or respect of a holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath day, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. That no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he had not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind. And let's talk about your intelligence that you be getting from your first father, the devil, and not holding the head, from which all the body by joints and bands have a nourishment, ministers and knit together increase with the increase of God. Wherefore, if you be dead with Christ from the rudiments of the world, why as though living in the world are you subject to ordinances? Touch not, taste not, handle not, which all are to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men, which things have indeed a show of wisdom and will worship and humility and neglecting of the body, not in any honor to the satisfying of the flesh. How about your flesh and the mind? The flesh should never be satisfied.
It never is.
And everybody always want to please themselves. When you please flesh, you being selfish. People don't know that. You please yourself. I don't know about nobody else, but I'm going to take care of me. Yeah, you're supposed to take care of you too. But you're also supposed to consider others.
Amen.
See, God wants us to work together with others, not work together as one. And God is talking about the old man and the new man has to bow down to the Holy Spirit. Because you still got that old man in you after you're born again.
Amen and amen. And you know, the old man, you know, as he grows old, he don't want to grow old. He's fighting it.
Yep. He's wicked. He's very wicked.
Mm-hmm.
But you just put all your trust in God and humble yourself. And God was talking to his servants like me. I'm talking about myself as an individual, but the glory and honor and everything goes to God. I'm just a vessel being used to speak right now. So this ain't my word, this God's word talking to the universe. Get yourself in order, because he's coming back.
Oh my God. Yes.
So this is Ira.
Well, Rev, let me. Well, I thank you for those words, especially the word that you, the selection, okay, of Colossians there, okay, that book. Tell you about the Godhead, you know, that's the most important thing of all, okay?
Amen.
That you have that respect of man, and like you said there, you know, the young man and the old man, but what you just said, there's an in-between man there, whereas you know the young man become an old man, and
yep.
there he is, okay. Where there is a serious problem. So I know right now, you and I can say this, I know I can, as a father, as a grandfather, as a great-grandfather, as an educator, and just as a man myself, okay, to see what happened down in Uvalde, Texas.
Yep.
You know, it had to touch your heart, and especially when you being a EMS, being a medic in the service, and it's your job, you know, you went into fire, and, you know, you was fighting, you know with bullets over your head, going to save lives.
Yes.
How you must have felt, Rev, just watching, just thinking about these small kids hollering for help, and the police people are just sitting there to listen to them die.
You know something, Aaron? Those police officers, they can get upset all they want. They were scared.
They were scared.
Yeah, they were scared. I noticed that when I walked out here on the street. They were scared in our neighborhood and stuff.
Right, but you can't let fear dominate.
You can't be scared. You got to be bold. And if you're working for the Lord, he'll protect you through all dangers and harm.
Well, right now, okay, you know, when you, I'm going to use you here, okay, when you was driver, you went into the gunfire because you're going there to get a person out to get them to the hospital.
Amen.
You didn't care who shot who. You were taking those sides. All your mission was to save a life.
Yes, sir.
And you ran into fire. And
Amen.
People down here, and like I said, to me, I gotta say this. I had it was one of the hardest things I would hear, looking at my life, okay, to hear these police officers, the people in Texas, telling you a lie, trying back up a lie, then say the truth came out through the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the mouth of babes, the truth comes forth. And they were saying this, okay, but for them to that, they said 21, but this one man died, real. This is so hard. He put a little flowers on the memorial for his wife. He dropped dead, from sorrow. That is hard, real.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot imagine, okay, how people, their whole town feels. I mean, these are babies. They have did nothing to nobody.
Sure had.
Nobody. Nobody.
And you know something else, Ira? That was a demonic spirit in that young man that had him to do that kill, because that ain't nothing but evil.
Now, evil begets evil, and evil begat evil here because right now, Scott, I know you're a grandparent also here. You're an educator in your own right, okay, and a father. Can you give us your thoughts on that? While we just talking about this, I don't want to leave you out of this conversation.
Well, the person should be held responsible for his actions, which are they're terrible. It's like you said, they're babies. And the person had no love of life, obviously.
No.
So
none whatsoever. These babies didn't even know him. He didn't know them.
Yeah.
I mean, but to get up on any day, and to go kill, and then on top of that, to shoot your own grandmother.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, that's but having said that, all these kids in that school depended on adults to take care of them.
Well, that's what we're there for.
When I took my kids to school, we took your kids to school, Rev, you and all of us. We put our kids in the school's hands for those hours they went from morning time to get out of school.
Amen.
Yeah.
And to see that the man in charge of security for the school, for the kids, wasn't even on campus. Where was he at?
They didn't have any intelligence that anything was going to happen, from what I understand.
They did what now?
They didn't have any intelligence that it was going to be anything. So he might have been in an appointment. I don't know.
Right. I want to know. But for one thing, okay, you have an 8-hour job, okay. As a school teacher, you're supposed to be there for 8 hours or whatever hours you're going to camp for those kids.
Yeah, you're supposed to be
available. If you're not going to be there, then you should let the principal know, somebody know, I'm off campus.
Well.
Say, Ira.
Yes, sir.
I did security at the White Chapel on Kings Highway in National Bridge.
A hot spot.
And the people never knew where I was. I always was on the move on that perimeter around there. By me having military training, I never stayed in one spot.
Oh, you're not supposed to?
I didn't let them go. That way you could catch something when it's gonna happen.
Right.
By them, just like at the school, don't they have security officers at school? Should they be walking the premises and stuff?
Down the hall.
For the kids, that they know all this been going on? This ain't just happened.
No. Yeah, but real, what I'm saying, he wasn't even on the premises. But anyway, let's not dwell on that, okay? That's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah,
right
there's a lot in there, Ira. The security was lax,
Yeah.
yes, but you know why? The question is why this high school kid went to an elementary school.
Right. And not only that, okay, then we get into the fact that we're going to have a special guest coming on in a little while here. We know Cheyenne to join us, but she and I were talking, okay, but I have a hard time understanding where some 18-year-old could get the money, get the money or either to buy two, that much hardware, over almost $4,000 worth of stuff in a little small town. Some adult should have said, "What'd you get this for?"
Well, has it been traced to a person that had a license for it?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Cheyenne shared this with me yesterday. We was talking last night. I should say that some of the stuff he got on credit.
Okay, so it's
So
the
it's like the store.
yeah.
I mean, but the thing that got me here is there's always a timeline whenever something takes place. And unfortunately, the timeline here does not point to the right thing. So anyway, we got a short, tight show today. Anyway, prayers up, blessings down, Rev. I want to thank you, and Scott, for just being, grandfathers, and like we all are great grandfathers, and all the people out there. This is pray for us and pray for the families down there.
Amen.
Down there that need it, and that they need it, they need it.
There's a lot of hurt.
Yeah, prayers up, blessings down. My name is Aaron, folks. Listen to Scott, Real. This is
Amen.
Really much here in Commerce on a Memorial Day weekend. Life, Scott, take us out of here. Commerce on a beautiful, matter of fact, here in St. Louis, it was in the 60s yesterday, on the 50s, look what God has got us today, 80-some degrees in climate, 90 degrees in the next couple of days. Only God can do something like that. So we want to thank God for all that. And also we want to say welcome to another Memorial Day weekend. Matter of fact, when you hear the word Memorial Day, this actually got started for the first time on May 30th in 1868. It originally was called Decorations Day. And this was one of the earliest tradition of decorating graves with flowers, wreaths, and flags. And Memorial Day is a day for remembrance of those who died in service to our country. And so that's why, you have the Boy Scouts. When I was a kid, I used to go to my father's burial in the grave in Vicksburg, Mississippi there. one of the battlegrounds there, but it was a national memorial there, and I would put flowers on his grave as well as some other graves that family we had there. So I've been a part of that tradition. But so again, we wanted just to continue to keep those soldiers in our prayers, and and as we talk about that, continue to keep the soldiers that's in harm's way right now, in from our countries over here in Ukraine war that's going on. This is another senseless war, and at the same time, it's a war that's actually taking place before our eyes. As a matter of fact, in our entire history, the world is watching a war take place right before us. I mean, in live time. And that's something that's hard for anybody to try to fathom. But right now, this is a war that continued, and Putin found himself in facing the opposition almost every day when his country joined, the European Union and the NATO, and outside side with Ukraine, because now there's some negotiations going on now, because our food resources weak. In fact, you go to the grocery stores, all the shelves are empty. The prices are going up when you can find something. Okay, what you actually want to get is not there because the shelves are empty. Because all this goes back to what this Ukraine war that's taking place here. And it's affecting our homes, affecting our families. But as you continue to pray for our president and the leadership that we have that take us, as the Bible tells you, pray for your for your your authority figures, and then we got to do that. And also, this is something that we talk about memorials. Well, since January the 3rd, 2020, there have been 82,853,370 confirmed cases of COVID-19. That's 82,853,070 people who have been confirmed with cases. I got to say that 3 times. Since January the 3rd, 2020, there have been 82,853,070 confirmed cases of COVID-19. And there's been a total of 575 million doses of vaccines that have been administered. And this comes from the World Health Organization. And this is the numbers they have there. And as we had this conversation, we're watching COVID-19. We can call it coronavirus, all those different names, but right now it's back again. It's never left, okay. And right now, as you please be careful. This is a holiday weekend. Still wear your masks as much as you can. Especially, you got a lot of young kids around older people and stuff. And this is not a good time, so please, and we already ask you, please. Right now, hospitalizations are starting to rise along with the COVID-19 cases. But the good thing about this now is that the vaccines seem to be working. So please, but don't put all your weight on that, because you do not want to catch this under those circumstances. Right now, a lot of colleges and business and universities right now that suggest that mandate be one. They don't use the word mandate because that makes you all mad. Don't take away my rights. We won't get into that. But anyway, also we want to say that up in D.C. There's a January 6th committee for the insurrection that we all saw on TV with our own eyes and stuff, and they said we didn't see those things. Well, those investigations are continuing. There's more and more investigations. More and more is coming out, and the more we find out, there was no doubt that there was an attempt to overthrow our government, and we are in uncharted waters now because people saying, what about President Trump? Well, for all likelihood, those around him, some going to jail, but he would not go to jail. But we're not, we don't want to put our president in jail. That's a picture you really want to paint for the world. But I think my prediction is that he will be barred from any elections. And there's all type of other lawsuits and cases right now that he's fighting right now for his business. Him and his daughter and his son-in-law. They're right now, facing a lot of, in New York State. where they're paying so much $10,000 a day, okay, I think it is right now for not getting in, responding to the court orders that they have there. So again, this is one of those things, okay, that's going to play itself out. Come June, I think it's June the 9th is the day that this becomes a prime time. And also this past week we had a lot of elections that took place around the country. You didn't hear a lot about it because after the census killing in Texas, we kind of focus on that. But right now, one of the elections that took place the week before in Pennsylvania, the two candidates, Republican candidates in the primaries, president in a recount, because the election was so close together that they could actually, less than 1%, you got to have a whole recount, and that will be done sometime in June, which means the president, the Democratic candidate, Mr. Fetterman, who, by the way, picked him also because, not because that he win, but for his health, because he had a stroke, and now he has a pacemaker, in his, keeping him alive. Thank God for technology. Okay, so, and also down in Georgia, we had, one of those elections where the focus, for the most part, was on Kemp and Perdue, who were running for governor. Perdue, who was a former United States senator, lost that race, and where he lost again very badly to Mr. Kemp. And Mr. Kemp was, fighting, the Trump people down there, left and right. So again, and so was the Secretary of State, because Mr. Ratzenberger, we all put a name now, because he was fighting, he refused to give in, recording the telephone call of President Trump, asking for those 11,000 votes and so that he needed, which is again against the law. And also, right now the president is fighting, about to fight the cases down there. Okay, that's alive and well in the courts there in Georgia. And so that's why I said there's a lot of things. And I don't know, a lot of these people who did not believe all these things are taking place with the backdrop that we all know that we had over 60-some cases before the court, the Supreme Court, that President Biden is actually president. If all those people who are believing otherwise, and this all comes out, I don't know what they're going to do. And the truth is definitely going to come out. We all going to find out, who did what, who didn't do the right thing. But right now, we know for a fact that Mr. Biden, he just got back from another trip, okay, over in this town, over in Korea, in that area, and where people are aware, while all this is going on, Russia the other day launched a missile, thinking that the United States is distracted what's going on here, with the courts and stuff like this, and he thinks that we were weak, and that's why he kind of invaded Ukraine. So again, there's a whole lot of misnomers, okay, about our country and about us being weak. But I think we're stronger than ever before. Scott, you guys have been in the service, and we know for a fact, okay, we're constantly, building new technology, training new people to come to the forefront. And I think right now on this Memorial Day weekend, we got to say thank you for all those there, from all the first, civil wars, the First World War, Second World War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and also all the wars in the Middle East that have taken our lives from our soldiers. And not only do we have to pray for them, that passed away, but also that we have to pray for the ones that are still here, that still has mental trauma. Ray, one of the things that if you watch, the wars, read about wars, it's the people that come back, okay, that have been affected for life. You hear stories about older men, who in World War I don't want to talk about it. Well, I don't want to talk about it. If you they don't want to talk about it, well, that is a lifetime of watching somebody or your friend die in your arms or die close to you or seeing death for real. And right now, this is something that I hate to tie the two together, but could you imagine? I can't imagine and I'm waiting for Shane to call in, but I can't imagine how people must feel when they watch, their children go to school every day, and hoping they're not choir director. Is that what my man Scott? Real?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to get in the conversation? Okay. Well, it's like we raise our babies, okay, and it's kind of fitting for the choir to get involved because he has to go to school. And Rev, when you and I were going to school, we were concerned about the nuclear, about wars going on with the bombs. We had bomb shelters all over the place, and you get up under the desk in case of stuff like that. But now, every school in this country need to have preparation if they have a shooter someplace. They run drills. And this right now is creating fear in our young people for life. Rev, you just said in your prayers, how, and we look at things, how they really come together. I was waiting for Shane to call in, but I'm going to get into this right now. If you look at things that took place down here in Texas, we got two things going at the same time here. One is Texas. We got the NRA having their convention there, and over 80,000 people going to be attending that. And if you watch TV at all this week, you saw a basketball coach, Mr. Kerr. He plays San Francisco Warriors, and he was doing a press conference, and he just couldn't keep it anymore, and said it's time for a stop. And he said, there are 50 senators in the United States right now that are controlling all of this violence that's taking place. One of the things that we all have done in our lives, God, Real, myself, all of us, who listen to my voice right now, we've been taught how to do research, how to figure out, why certain things take place, why something goes wrong. Well, right now, our congressional people in Washington, D.C., our senators, they're being paid money by the NRA to make sure that no one takes people's guns away. Well, I hate to tell you this, if you don't know this, we have over 300 million people, 330 million people in our country. Well, we got over 300 million guns in our country. So there's no way nobody going to take away your gun. And they're making them every day, more and more guns. So, but who are you going to war with? There's no country that's going to come in here and you're going to be fighting with. Here in St. Louis, we have a bad situation with these guns on the street killing babies. You say, how did that happen? Well, you buy a gun and don't know how to use it. There's no training. You put it up someplace. Just what a baby finds it. We had one baby killed another baby here. They were streaming live here. They didn't know what they were doing. But they found a gun someplace where there were no dogs around. Sure, we have had guns in our lives for years and years, but people have been taught how to use them. Yes. AK-47s. I can't count the people I've heard, soldiers who've been to war said, you do not need an AK-47. That's meant to kill people. If you shot a rabbit, you wouldn't have no rabbit with one of those shells.
Get an AK-47.
Yeah,
that's a powerful bullet.
Yeah, you got those
bullets. It spins and hits you.
Right, and it tears up, steel doors. It goes through cabinets. It goes through car doors. So who are you hunting? Who are you hunting? I got friends on the phone here with me, okay? Guns are not bad. but there are guns, and there's a thing called guns.
Yeah.
The people are bad.
Yeah,
The guns ain't do nothing unless an evil person is behind it.
right, you know, and I hear people talk about, well, it's a mental issue. Well, hold on a second. In the country right now, I'm gonna get kind of pause in here. We cannot get insurance to go get somebody checked out for for mentally. You gotta have insurance so you go to the hospital, go to the doctor. And right now, okay, there are bills on the Republican side are being held up for insurance for people. So right now, if it's a mental issue, how can they get insurance? They go to the doctor.
Yeah,
Otherwise, go ahead, Scott.
they do need the insurance, yes, but I need to remind you exactly what the Second Amendment says.
Go ahead, please.
It says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And that is saying that in case the government is going to overcome everybody, they need to allow people to fight back.
Okay, now having said that, the former Supreme Court Justice Warren Burger said in 1991, I saw this other day, what you just read there, Scott, they were talking about in the militia, okay? Right now, okay, nowhere in it does it say you need to get an AK-47. Nowhere does it say, okay, you need to get all these bigger and bigger guns, okay, to be on the street in your city to protect yourself from somebody.
Yeah, but it doesn't exclude them.
I know it doesn't, but that's it, okay? So right now, the same way, this was a right given by the Supreme Court, the same Supreme Court right now, Supreme Court now is taking away women's rights, okay? And to have babies from their own bodies, okay?
No, it seems they're taking away rights for women to decide to kill their babies or not.
Well, okay, first of all, they take away the rights of a woman to control her body. I'm even right there.
Well, there you go. I can see that.
Okay, I said control their bodies, okay? I mean, right now, they're the ones, right now, you got over 23 mothers mourning right now down here in Texas for something they had no control over. I mean, none whatsoever. And
Nope.
you also have all these kids who will be shot for life. And then that doesn't count the other kids, the people just got shot in Buffalo, Pennsylvania a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And how unfortunate that was, okay? Even right now today, Vice President Harris left the funeral for the last person to be buried there, up there in Pennsylvania. And we were all mourning about that. And just this week, we got these kids, okay, being taken. And the part that makes this so bad is that there are people that we supposed to protect our kids. And here, just because somebody was cowards here, I cannot call a coward here, that somebody decided to wait over 40 minutes while, the truth comes out of the mouth of babes. And you hear all these babies calling on the telephones in their own voice, saying, come get it. As a matter of fact, one lady here, she was handcuffed because they said she's getting in the way. They unhandcuffed her. You know what she did? She went and jumped the fence, went in the school, and got her 2 kids. She didn't have no body armor whatsoever.
Yeah.
Reverend Clyde, how you doing, sir? I won't leave you out this conversation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I guess
How you doing?
The conversation a little late. We're doing good.
No, you right on time. No, you right on time. Now we were discussing, what's going on down here in Texas and around the world. as we have a whole generation of young people right now who have been terrorized. And I was making mention, we're talking about now this school, but every school in the country right now has drills when in case they have a shooter come in. And that's a whole generation that's been terrorized. Mentally speaking, okay, to expect death in these schools. Expect somebody to come through the doors.
Yep.
That's a bad thing to have to go to school every day to think about.
Yeah.
And I had them that fact, Shane was gonna call in, she's out, comes in every Saturday, but she got tired of, I guess. And she said in her school in Kansas, they were on lockdown because some kid brought a pistol to school.
Yep.
And she's still terrorized because of that.
Yeah.
And that says that doesn't leave St. Louis out because we have babies being died here because people buying guns, leaving them out so kids are finding them and killing themselves.
Oh yeah, in St. Louis public schools, kids been bringing guns to school too.
Right. Yeah. Right now, this is something that we're not left out. Okay, we thank God. Okay. And right now, we have to thank God that school year is almost out. And unfortunately, Clyde and Breb and Scott, when you and I was in school, everybody used to hate the last year of school because they somebody said, I'm going to beat up somebody. I waited for the last year of school. Remember those days?
Yep.
Yeah.
So do.
Wait till school's out. I'm going to get you. How many times did you do that? Well, guess what? These kids nowadays, they got some, their moms and daddies got some serious guns in the house, and they know how to find them.
Yep.
They know where they at. I'm sorry, Reverend Clyde. Anyway, our special guest today, okay, is the Reverend Clyde Crawford. He's the pastor of the Cooperating Presbyterian Church in the heart of the ghetto, for lack of a better description. On Marcus and Avenue, in my old neighborhood there, grew up in the neighborhood there, all the back street, the elders very well. And he's a successor to one of my mentors. The pastor, he was there for so long, Pastor Gillespie, that changed so many lives in the community. And for Clyde to step in, I'm so happy to say, you still know she was very well, Clyde. I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you. And Reverend Dr. William G. Gillespie was there for 53 years.
Yeah.
And, folks always talk to me about filling his shoes, and I tell them I could never fill his shoes.
I know.
But we do accept the responsibility for building on the legacy that he left behind. That's our job. Staying with our history and culture.
Yes, matter of fact.
Amen.
Matter of fact, I'm so proud of you in that this weekend, and I don't know if you can talk about this, you can, but now, if you had a meeting with the board that superintendent of St. Louis Public Schools about trying to help our youth. We talked about on the program a while back that you were doing. Can you talk about that today? Do you want to?
Yes, sir. I can share a little bit. Basically, all we're presenting to the public schools is kind of a 4-stage program where we take a look at the condition of our community, our neighborhood, our families, and this is for the students. We've done some pilot programs with this where stage 1, we take a look at the likes and dislikes in the community and the neighborhood, and the dislikes by far outweigh the likes.
Yes.
One group, they struggled to come up with something that they liked about their neighborhood, and one young lady finally said there's a black business in her neighborhood. Stage 2, we take a look at our history, and this is probably one of the most critical components of the program, where we take a look at our history. And we have to tell our story. And I'll come back to that. And then stage 4, we look at the biblical narrative beginning with Genesis 15 that talks about the 400 years. And then there's Exodus 12 that talks about the 30 years after the 400. So actually it was 430 years before Moses led Israel out of Egypt. But God tells Abram in Genesis, I'm sorry?
We said amen.
Amen.
So God tells Abram Abram that that this narrative is going to repeat itself in 4,000 years or 4 generations. So God is having this conversation with Abram about 2,000 years before Christ, and now we're in this period 2,000 years after Christ. And the 400 years is 1619 to 2019. Well, 2019, the 400 was the end of the 400, and 2020 began that next 30 that led up to the 430 before they actually left Egypt. And we all know what happened during that 30-year period. That's when the 10 plagues took place. So in 2020, after the 400, 2019, 2020, it opens up with a pandemic. And we're still there. This is just year 3 of the succeeding 30. So we have to tell our story, and we look at the biblical narrative. And those two, once we go through the curriculum for those two, the history and the biblical narrative, there's an empowering process that takes place in telling those stories. So stage 4 we call ethical decision making, where we come back and look at stage 1, our dislike, and what are we going to do about it? Because now we have no excuse for not moving and addressing the issues and concerns in our own community and our own families and our schools. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Well, now, but first I called Clyde now, honestly, he and I played football together in Solon. Yes, back in the days, okay. And so we go way back, okay, long before we knew what our parents would take us to.
Yep.
and nobody knows, I know we didn't know then, okay, where we would be at now. But I'm so happy that God put me where I am, and I'm so happy He put Clyde where he's at, that we can actually come together now, and be a voice in our community, talking about what we know, and that help is needed.
Yeah.
And I know too many times people tell you that you do not know anything about your history. You just gave an example there, okay, that went back generations and generation, okay, in the Bible in Genesis. And we're told what is taking place now. And in the same scenario, we just experienced a pandemic, okay, like they did back in 1919. It was 100 years prior to this pandemic taking place. And these are things that continue to take place. And even as we deal with this COVID-19 situation here, there was a Great Depression in 1929 that stemmed from the plague that we talked about in 1919. That we are right now in the middle of right now, as we heard about the prices and everything's going up. Well, that's how another infection takes place. Because the rich are getting richer, and on the poor end, we get poorer. And I can't stop getting poor. God is blessing all of us on His telephone, okay? But around us, we're seeing things that's not good for our neighbors in our community. And I think that's the one thing that Clyde, that you have eloquently laid out here. So when I said Clyde, I'm not being disrespectful, Reverend Clyde, but
No.
Call it Clyde, okay. And we call each other. I mean, we're friends. First of all, like that. And I'm so impressed, okay, with what you're doing at your church, that people talk about talk about our kids, but very few actually reach out and go to the kids, go in the community like Pastor Leslie did. He was always on the street.
Yeah.
I mean, most of it, matter of fact, in those days, I don't know what the values are right now, but in those days, the church, your church was in the Fourth Ward. And that was a place we could always depend on to have our meetings at, and down in the kitchen downstairs there. Okay. Sometimes we had Lord together up in the sanctuary, you know what I mean? But we always knew that we could go to that church and have something, and get some help some kind of way.
Yes, sir.
And right now, okay, before we go too much further, you guys have built that beautiful complex in the middle of the ghetto. Tell us about what your church consists of.
What was that now? The senior housing?
Yeah, your senior housing and stuff that you guys got going on there.
Oh, well, was it's called Gillespie Village, and it's about a 40-unit apartment building for seniors. And a lot of churches, a lot of organizations are doing those. I have done those in the last 30, 40 years. So, and it just they named it after Reverend Gillespie. So that's just a feather and his cap, and just to his credit, you know. But let me say this though, since you mentioned our high school days, that I just want to let the guys know that you were the football star, and you heard of LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Ladies love Cool James. Well, the ladies love our folks. Let me tell you, man. Tall, handsome, oh man. But anyway, let me share this.
Well, I want to thank you for those, but let me say this to you, okay? All during that time, I was just learning my way around St. Louis, okay? Because I came to in 1965 as a freshman, and I just was trying to figure out what the streets were, okay? I mean, you know, a football team, you know, I remember one of the games that I heard a lot about, okay, was when we played Beaumont. And a guy that was, you know, a little so great one, the fastest man in the state, caught a pass, and I ran him down before he got to the end zone.
Yep.
and I didn't understand. This is a true story. One of my best friends died recently, Gail, and she was telling about her friend, her cousin, Jerry Johnson. You know, with her cousin named Jerry. Y'all, you know Jerry. And
Jerry played football with us?
Yeah, with her cousin.
He's a superstar.
Yeah, he's no superstar, okay? And so he had told her the story. Now, he's a running back on offense, okay? I played both defense and offense, but I was on defense. And as a linebacker, my job was to follow this one guy. Whenever he went on the field, my job was to follow him. That was Coach Anton said, that's what you did.
Right.
And so as it turned out, the ball was going in, so I came up, okay, but I got close, and I saw the ball going over my head to him. And so my job was, you know, all I could see was Lorenzo Brinkley going to the end zone. And I see my coach and all the players come Monday, you know what I mean, how I'm coaching that stuff. And so all I saw was catching him behind me, okay, and forget all about what happened after that until about 10 years ago that Gil told me that story. So I had to put myself, you know, if I was on the sideline watching this, what must have been going through about this man on the sideline. And so they was like, got to go down a touchdown, which was won the game, by the way. But I just was a kid learning how to get around St. Louis. Didn't know my way of no place.
Yeah, but you knew your way around the football field.
Yeah, well, I was there because players like you, we taught me the game and taught me friendship and taught me how to bond together.
And a coach that had a board.
Oh yes, well yes. I mean, Coach Anton had a board that looked to the east.
Yep.
And that was just a form of Holmes Fields, and that's when you bent over, and there was a paddle for your mess ups. Okay, so
you want that?
You want that, okay. So that's why I said all I could see at that time was making sure that Little Brinkley did not make it to the end zone.
There you go.
Well, yes, no, Clyde, no, well, thank you for those compliments, okay. But thank you, okay.
But let me share this, man, because when I came on, you guys, somebody mentioned the shooting in Buffalo a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And during one of the press conferences after that shooting, one of the guys asked a question of the white supremacists. And his question was, why do you all hate us so much? Why do you hate us? And never got a response. So my follow-up to that is that they are trained, they are taught to hate us because they do not know much about us. They do not know our story, our culture, and our history. But then by the same token, neither do we, which helps explain our behavior the way it is. And I'm generalizing.
No, but right, because right now, you telling me, we talking about our high school days, okay? And that was back in 1968 and 67, in those days. And very few people know their history, okay? Unless somebody like yourself, somebody tells about it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, with them banning books in schools, that you don't want people to know your history. And I think right now, the whites have a history to tell, and there's some good and there's some bad in it.
Mm-hmm.
But you ignore them, you need to be told.
Yeah. So if I don't know my story, if I can't know my history, which is what's happening, then that keeps me in the dark, and that hinders my pride, self-esteem, and value. I have no relationship, no responsibility to my history and my culture. So again, my behavior is all over the place, which is where we are. But then when we look at so when we look at what God is telling us biblically, which is what He told Israel that applies to us. One of the places is Deuteronomy 4:9. Tell your story to your children and your grandchildren.
Amen.
And we've failed in that area because a lot of our children don't know who they are. They don't know the rich cultural history from which they come. Their responsibility to that cultural history, to learn it, to teach it, to protect it. So our pride, self-esteem, and value are skewed. We're not building on that culture and that history, which makes us a great people. But if I want to oppress you, then I keep that from you. Don't let you teach it in school. And right now, they are hiding our history behind this critical race theory, which is a theory, which is of a law school construct. But in that theory, it's also saying that in order to judge a people, you need to take a look at their history and their past. So we're being judged, and not only do we not know our history, the folks who are being judgmental against us, they don't know our history and our culture and how we got to where we are. So that's how we are able to be oppressed, and racism is a part of that.
Yeah, one of the things about white supremacy, this is nothing new. If you go back maybe 20 or 40 years, it's like a cycle, okay, going back to Ku Klux Klan days, where we have this white supremacy kind of raises its head, and whatever may be the reason. And I think now the history of the facts of life tell us right now that the people of color, that these young kids that been killed down here, okay, they were people of color, okay. Cause that's right across this village. Well, this is a small village, honestly, down in Texas here. This is like a rural community, like a Mexican community, okay. And there are people of color, okay. And for some reason, whoever this man is, he hated these people. For some reason, he killed them, and he didn't know anything about them. He did not know the history, but someone had taught him, okay, not to like them.
Right. They don't like us, but they don't know why. They couldn't tell you.
No,
because that's the way they've been conditioned.
Yeah.
And I've heard this quoted, and I'm paraphrasing, where Lyndon Johnson in the early 60s said that if you teach the lowest white man that he's better than any black man, you can pick his pockets and take whatever you want from him, the white man. Then he came back and said, hell, if he knows that he's better than anybody, any black man, he can look down upon other folks, he will empty his pockets and give you whatever you want. So they are themselves culturally conditioned to think that we're their problem, that they're better than us, and we're the ones that that are causing them to live in poverty. It's the poor folks who are buying this. Okay, the wealthy folks and the well-to-do white folks, they don't have a problem with a, it's the poor folks who are the problem. It's the young man that went in and shot up the grocery store at Buffalo. That in his ignorance he did that.
Yeah, the statement, you be so kind, Clyde. Repeat that again, my President. I heard that before my own self, some years ago. Repeat it again.
I'd have to look it up to get it correct. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but Johnson said that if you teach the poorest white man that he's better than any black man, you can pick his pockets and take whatever you want. Then he said, hell, if you give him somebody to look down upon, he will empty his pockets for you. So that's kind of, where we are. That they really don't know why they hate us. They don't know. But they just have to have somebody to look down upon because they are so low themselves. And no matter what a black man's accomplishments or achievements are, no matter what he's acquired and how much he's tried to assimilate, a poor white man is still going to think he's better than the wealthiest black man. I
remember years ago when I worked in the mayor's office, okay, and I was in Safe Street. That's when we smoke detectors. We were using the way, deadbolt locks on doors, and stuff like that, okay, for the whole city. And I had got north side, okay, before committee up there. But up in the Hyde Park area in those days, we had pretty much a white community that was there that that were kind of poor. And I never get to the pastor at the church up there. I said, the sister at the church up there. This right there, the church is still there right now, right on Salisbury and Highway 70. Big steeples there. And so what I did I was trying to get them to get some smoke detection, stuff like that, right? And so that don't work, okay? You got to go door to door. So what I did, I called them. I said, got my tennis on, and I said, let's go walk door to door. And I was amazed, okay? These people sometimes didn't have nothing in their house, okay? We would go in, and we were giving them smoke detection and stuff like that. And the wife would go say, I gotta ask my old man, okay, first of all, okay, if we can take this from you.
That's right.
And I'm saying to myself, you need this right now, okay?
Yeah, but you're a black man at my door.
Hey, Al, I got something on that.
Okay.
We can look at Malachi 2 and verse 10. It said, have we not all one Father? Had not one God created us? Why do we deal treacherously, every man against his brother, by profaning the covenant of our fathers?
Yep.
Well, Rev, what Clyde just said, and I always said this a long time, later on in life, and I know Clyde, and I was on it, and sure can tell this, if you can give somebody something, or if you give somebody something right, you think it was just thank you, they're happy to get it right, but people hate you because you can give them something. They jealous because you have to give them something. And that Clyde, it just kind of ducktailed what you just said. I didn't see myself as being that, okay? Heck, I was in the lowest one in the office when I was going up there, because nobody else want to go up there. Okay? And I said, I'll go. Somebody needs to go up here. But so we were able to go up there and see firsthand why they wasn't responding, and after we finished, okay, naturally they took what we gave them, because they needed it.
Yep.
And I would talk to the young men there, and they would figure out, okay, if the family needed these things, why not? And it's not costing you. As a matter of fact, it's their own tax money. Now, convincing them that, okay, we got along pretty good.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, so let me ask you a question, Pat. being an educator, yourself, being a father, and and I can see your great grandfather, all those things, because you were entitled with we represented your church. What were your thoughts when you saw the timeline of what took place down here in Texas?
Timeline in terms of what?
The kids calling in and the people outside the door afraid to go in.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the Rev just said he said they were cowards because they got all this armor on and the kids laying on the floor, bunking down, calling outside to please come in.
Mm-hmm.
And the people had a door now, and after that we also saw these TV programs where these people knock doors down, and all these, they going where the shooter is, they're gonna find them, but it'll be necessary.
Yeah, and this there's still an investigation, but some part of that is training, which means that it would go beyond the officers to the top of the Texas Rangers and their training. Because when you have a mass shooting or a shooter like that on the loose, and you don't know what artillery he may have, then they are supposed to wait for like a SWAT team, which got there I think about 5 minutes later. And then, they're saying, well, cowardice, but then a lot of it is training. That they were waiting on the professional SWAT team to get there to address the situation because they don't know what was on the other side of those walls. Now, you would think that training would take a back seat to me running up here trying to get around this building and see what's going on inside, how many we got, how many shooters, and what kind of guns they're using, that kind of thing. So some are saying it was fear, and then, but I think it's going to come out that that's basically the way they were trained to respond, to not to respond, but to keep the perimeter safe.
Well, Clyde, there's one lady, okay, that we all saw handcuffs on TV, and she got unhandcuffed, okay, and she disappeared in the crowd, and she went jumped the fence and went into school and got her 2 kids out.
Yeah. Which, that's what, I think it was Columbine that they managed to start filing the kids out of the building before they totally knew that the property was secured. So I mean, it'll come out in the investigation, but I'm leaning toward the fact that it was part of their training, and not fear as much we might think.
Well, I agree with you. Well, one thing that the unit that went in they got there and it was there over a half hour before they overrode, okay, the person that was in charge. When they went on and took over, but there were so many missteps there. But we don't need to dwell on that. The thing that we can dwell on, okay, is those kids and their families that have to figure out right now, okay. And I said figure out, okay, because right now your kids at that age are so precious, okay, and so much part of your everyday lives that that's such a big void, okay. And I know, you as a pastor and a minister, and like you, Rev, and we all minister in some kind of way to our people here. Our ancients come out as fathers, okay. Oh my God.
So my next thought would be, if any of those officers had a child that was a student in that school, would they have waited? Or would they have, like the mother did, went in and got her children? Would they have waited, or would they have gone in and taken matters in their own hands and not waited? Because I haven't heard where any of the officers that had children in the school.
Right. Yeah. That's another point that kind of stands out. Okay. They didn't look like me at the time, and so I was hesitant. But those are my kids. Okay. So let's talk about some good stuff here. Okay. Especially some good news here. The program that you talked about to us and me, more than one time. Oh, by the way, speaking of Pastor Gillespie, when I was last over to your church, okay, you were doing some renovation there, a room that was part of that community for so long. How is that renovation coming?
In the church?
Yeah, Yeah, you know, I think it was the recreation center or something that was being, he was, doing some work
I
on.
was just doing some repairs to the fellowship hall,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but mostly repairs. And I guess one of the most recent things that's been done was the ladies' restroom, and it needed some repairs and some upgrades, and they just took it a step further and just turned it into a beautiful ladies' powder room, they call it.
Okay.
Got a small chandelier and
Okay.
granite countertop and bigger stalls and full-length mirror,
Oh, okay. Okay, no. Okay, well, women, okay, when they go in there, they want to look from head to toe.
Yeah, so the men's room has not changed, The men say, well,
We love me.
we don't care. We don't have to go outside, so we're all right.
Wow.
But yeah, they're gonna get to the men's room too eventually, though. But yeah, that's they've been working on the ladies' room, so it's a good thing.
But I was there. I was in the gymnasium. I'm talking about the gymnasium area. That's what I was talking about. Where you and your wife, beautiful wife, there was, during the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah, we refurbished the kitchen too. Oh, what happened? I think it was during the winter last year, and we had a pipe to freeze and bust and flooded that area.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to, come back with some major repairs, and in the process, we upgraded the kitchen since a lot of stuff had to be changed and repaired and stuff.
Well, I guess, Reverend Clyde, being a pastor of an older church, okay, like that, as you coming in, okay, that you got to almost have to rebuild it. It was so hard. You had to be rebuilt, had to be maintained.
Yeah. Boy, that's with any structure. That's with our homes too.
Right. Okay, you need maintenance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just like with our homes, if you don't maintain it, okay, those repair bills are going to be higher than they should have been.
Yep.
Okay.
So let me ask you this question: is everybody on the call? Is everybody in St. Louis or different parts of the country?
Now on the call right now, you get heard in 10 different countries right now.
Oh wow.
Now, right now, you live on Facebook, YouTube, and Scott, what we do, Twitch, and also this is a podcast. If you heard on Spotify and all those places like that.
Okay, got it.
So right now, no, we well beyond St. Louis. Matter of fact, we over in Poland and places like that.
Okay.
In South America. And that's why we're telling the story, okay, about how you here in St. Louis, okay, as a pastor that has approached the board of education when there was some ideas. People always say, well, everybody want to talk about the problem, but nobody want to do anything about the problem.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the program that you presented to the board of education.
Well, that's the one that we're working on the curriculum now. We got a first stage approval, first step approval with the superintendent. He likes the program. We over the summer going to present the curriculum to go along with it. And some of the curriculum is based on the 1619 project book and the 1619 project curriculum. That helps us tell our story.
Okay.
Now, is everybody familiar with the 1619 project book?
Well, we know, but let's assume that everybody does not tell us about it, update us.
Well, it's basically a book that looks at African American history, or the history of African Americans, descendants of enslaved Africans, beginning with one of the first slave ships that came to the shores of North America in 1619. So it takes a look at our 400-year history, and the project initially began in 2019, the 400th year, with a Times Magazine article on the history of Black America, and it tells a pretty comprehensive story. There's a lot of good authors, and it's a good research book. It's a good history book, and this is one of the books that's being banned in a lot of schools, public schools across the country. And it just should not be, because white America needs to know this story too. they're going to judge us and not know us. So, I mean, this is why they really need to know our history, to know just how good of a people we are, how great of a people we are, and the contributions we have made to this nation. And if allowed to, how many more contributions we can make to this nation and the world.
Amen.
Reverend Klein, years ago, the late Fred Price, who was on every Sunday, did a special, on America's racism in the church and stuff like that. And as a matter of fact, I already asked you, I already asked Rev, and I asked a couple other pastors, But in July, we're going to do a special program on the state of the black church, right now, with you and Rev and Bishop Ellis and I think Reverend Larry Brown right now, be the 4 pastors that we're going to have on the program. And we're going to dedicate the hour, the 2 hours, I should say. Because right now, the black church is something that needs to be discussed. Because it is the backbone, of our community. And it's, and people who may go off to other different religions and stuff, different white churches and stuff, they still have a core value, Like in my case, I was baptized in a church in Vicksburg, Mississippi. It's a historical church right now. But I was taught through that, but I went to school and learned, I was in the Catholic school at the time, before my father died. And so, but the basic structure of that black church, that still pretty much dominates right now in all of our society when we do things.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out, like we just said early on, understand our history and how cognizant we need to be, how it can be good to us if we know how good it is, and when we need to go looking for help at. One of the things in the black community, we turn to the church, and the pastor wears many hats, and right now, you are taking the lead. Tell us a little bit about your program. When does it start? And if anybody, how do people participate? How does that work out?
Well, it's scheduled to start. Well, we're working on being approved for start this fall, and we'll probably target the middle school first.
Okay.
To let the superintendent and the school board see just how effective the program can be. And again, I gave the 4 stages. Start off with our likes, dislikes, telling our history, looking at the biblical parallel, and then coming back to our ethical decision making.
Okay,
So one of the largest parts of the program is our history. From knowing our history, our cultural history, rich cultural history, there also comes built into knowing, comes pride, self-esteem, and value. And without those components of pride, self-esteem, and value, our behavior has no foundation. And a lot of our young African American men are creating a lot of crimes and offenses, and the erratic driving through the city, running stop signs and stoplights, and hurting other lives. I mean, that's just poor, ignorant behavior when we're talking about some of the greatest people on the planet who come from the greatest people on the planet. And we don't know. And then I always like to add this component, that when we look at African Americans and Africans all over the world, and our ancestry, who come from the continent that is the most minerally rich continent on the planet, Africa.
Wait, let's stop right there, okay? When you said mineral, we talking about diamonds, we talking about oil, we talking about uranium,
gold, bauxite, everything.
Everything that create riches.
Everything that the U.S., the British, the Portuguese, the French, and other nations are trying to control. That's where colonization comes in, to control the mineral. But my point is that from that most minerally rich soil, our ancestors ate fruits and vegetables that came from that soil, which those minerals, vitamins, and nutrients are in their DNA, are in our DNA. So we're talking about folks who were naturally bred from that rich soil that made them the greatest in the world. The greatest physically, mentally, and emotionally. Some of the greatest inventions that this nation, the U.S., stands on today came from black minds. Some of the greatest inventions that this nation still profits from economically came from black minds. The souls, the rich cultural souls of black folk. You've heard the stories, you've seen the movies. Soul brother, soul sister, the most loving, most caring, most forgiving people in the world. Greatest in the soul, and also the greatest in the physical, the body.
Yes.
That's why slaves were selected, well, not slaves, that's why Africans were selected to be enslaved, because they had great physique, strong bodies, to work long hours, do great work. I mean, we're talking about a culture of people that had the ingenuity to build pyramids, sphinx, and, you know, just all kinds of phenomenal things that were developed from the earth. But when we look at, an example that I like to use to depict just how great this people is, I look at our physical. When we look at how physically great the African and the African American male is, and female, we look at the athletic accomplishments and achievements. That alone, you know, brothers and sisters dominate any sport they get into. Football, basketball, boxing, hockey, golf, soccer, tennis, doesn't matter. If we're allowed the opportunity to compete, we can dominate. And I'm saying descendants of Africans, not exclusively the African Americans. You look at guys like Usain Bolt.
Oh, yes.
You know, I mean, it's just amazing the talent that comes out of the continent of Africa. The great minds, you know, the great leadership.
Well, because you mentioned the pyramids, okay? Those some of the people that need to understand the history of the pyramids that are built and still standing now. Okay, you know, on the insides of them, people, when they get a chance to see them, we always saw the inside of most pyramids, we get to see the insides of them. Because, and then they were like palaces that were still existing, made of gold.
Oh, man.
And the artwork that, you know, that went into, you know, like I said, the king, you know, some of those bodies, when they zoomed them now, they're still almost, you know, they still have, you know, what you want to call the word, they're rare. They have
they haven't deteriorated. The greatest embalming in the world.
Yeah.
Centuries ago.
Okay, and that's the thing that I think that's what I tell young people all the time about. You know, we as a people, you know, we come from a country.
Oh, I lost you.
And continue to change the world, and we also continue to figure out how we can, some kind of way, eliminate something that's been done and modernized, okay? But when we go back to our basis from where we came, that's where the big problem comes in about our history. It frightens people. Would you agree?
Yeah, you know, in this nation here, the U.S., and part of the fear is that we would treat others the way we've been treated. But we're not that kind of people. You know, we are the most loving, caring, sharing, forgiving folks on the planet. We are that great. We're just that great.
Now, Also, Reverend Klein, one of the things, okay, on your program, we was talking about, you mentioned board education, and you mentioned a part about Ghana. How does that part work?
Well, the program that we're currently developing, it culminates with a trip. Initially, we want to take at least 10 young men to Ghana, and there are brothers over there that have a program, like a 10-day program or a 14-day program to take them through. And, I don't know any one person, I'm speaking in terms of black folks in particular, but I don't know any one person from the United States that has gone to visit the continent of Africa that didn't come back a changed person with a different mindset and different understanding. So, and we want to take some of the guys that really don't know. We're working with some students that really have never been very far away from their own metropolitan area, not out of the state, and certainly not out of the country. So we want to give them an opportunity to see the world from a different point of view. Here, let me say this one thing. When we were there in 2018, they were preparing for the 400-year recognition from 1619 to 2019 of their ancestors, who are our ancestors, who were captured and stolen from the continent of Africa and brought to the Western Hemisphere, North, Central, and South America. Actually, Central and South America first, and then the North America. They were recognizing and commemorating our ancestors. I thought that was amazing.
Well, Reverend Klein, we have a gentleman on the telephone, I call him Good Luck Chuck, okay, Chuck DeBow, who's our executive director of the chamber and who has been in Africa many times. So, Chuck, let me ask you a question. Welcome to the program, Chuck. You've been in Africa many times. Can you recall your first time going to Africa?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and what a beautiful Memorial holiday weekend. Yes, I remember every time I've been to Africa, but the premise that I went on was preceded or a mindset that was given to me by the ambassador of Ghana to the United States, and we were in a position as an organization taking a group of businesses over. We were like trying to determine where should we go, because we had all these invitations, and the disposition just basically came out that Ghana was probably the easiest, most comfortable place to start. And so we did start with Ghana, and they were right, and it was amazing. But what happens is you want to see more. It's kind of like ice cream or something for the first time. You as a child, you're like, man, I could just eat that for dinner, the whole thing. And it was a lot. But there's also, you were talking about really the product of your environment, cultural exposure. And that's what you really get, the cultural exposure, and how you're in depending on the perspective, you can see there's advantages of having had all the exposures that we have from an American culture, American upbringing, where, we do have a lot of things that are not so good that we experience, and you have to, some things we take for granted, and some things they would take for granted, but when you put the two together, you see a much bigger, broader picture of the world, of different people, of what they do. So it was very positive, but at the time, I felt like we wanted to have more of the progressiveness there, because we're business people, so we're kind of looking at what's wrong with this picture. And since that time, I mean, we're talking almost 20 years ago. And since that time, there's been an economic boom that's hit Ghana particularly. And the capital city of Accra has gotten so congested, populated, that it's forced the evolution of a evolving economy and an evolving metropolis to expand and to grow out. The other aspect to it is there are many, let's say, children of Ghana or children of Africa that have gone on and gotten educated in both Europe and the United States, and they have gotten kind of like their history, their culture, their DNA roots combined with seasoning or cross pollinating with the American culture and the African American culture, and now they're going back, and many of them have a tremendous success. There's a lot of prosperity there now.
Okay, so when you came in, Reverend Klein has met with the Board of Education here, superintendent this past week in St. Louis, about creating a program, and we were talking about the last part of the program, whereas his goal is if we can get 10 kids, to go to Ghana, and see what you just talked about. Am I right, Klein?
Yes, sir.
And so I go by Reverend Klein. His name is Reverend Klein Crossan. You guys been together before, but I said Klein. Now I play football together. I call him Klein. Okay, that's what I call it. Okay, the Reverend Klein. Okay, and his program at his church. Okay, not only he talks about doing something, he's actually doing something. And create a program that's going to be kind of be a scholarship for us. So another program is for education, how we can kind of get history being told. So, Klein, tell us again those 4 components that you're working with.
The 4 components, the 4 stages of our academic sustainability program.
Yeah, tell us the pillars of the program.
Okay, well, stage 1, we ask the students to list their likes and dislikes in their community, their neighborhood, and even in the family. So the family stuff we ask to keep private. But the likes and dislikes in the neighborhood. Mostly it's around crime and, the poor offensive behavior, bullying, that kind of thing, gun violence. Then we take a comprehensive look at the 1619-2019 history that parallels African American history. And that's the 1619 project that tells the story. And then we, stage 3, we take a look at the biblical parallel out of Genesis 15, where God tells Abram about his descendants being in the land is not theirs. They afflicted 400 years, and after which God brings them out with great possession. And we know that was actually Moses bringing Israel out of Egypt. And then God says, Abram, you're going to live to be a good old age. But in the 4th generation, in 4,000 years, this narrative is going to repeat itself. Your descendants are going to be in a land that's not theirs. They're going to afflict them 400 years, after which I'm going to bring them out. Now, God is having this conversation with Abram 2,000 years before Christ, and now we're in this period 2,000 years after Christ. That's the 4,000 years or the 4 generations. And the 400 years is 1619 to 2019, which ended in 2019. But Exodus chapter 12 tells us that it was actually 430 years before Moses led Israel out of Egypt. So if this narrative is parallels our history, then the 400 ended in 2019. But what happened in the next 30? Well, that's when the 10 plagues took place and Moses was going back and forth to Pharaoh. And initially it started out with, treat my people right. And then it became, well, let my people go. So now we're in year 3 of the 30 following the 400 that ended in 2019. And 2020 began with a pandemic or a plague. And we're still there. And the dangerous thing that we have to consider is that we don't know what to expect next. We know there's going to be something And now for the next 27 years, we just don't know what. So I'm encouraging people to be prepared for anything. It could come from the Russians interfering with our systems, electronic, I think they call it cyber warfare. It could be with the collapse of this economy, because greed and selfishness have taken over. And it could just come any multiple ways. So, we're telling folks to have all their backup supplies in place, toilet paper, water, non-perishable, and things of that nature. And cash on hand if the banks or the ATMs have to shut down. It could even impact our electrical grids, a lot of things which are controlled electronically. So then, after we look at those, stage 1, license like stage 2, our cultural history, stage 3, the biblical parallel. Stage 4 is our ethical decision-making process, where we look at stage 1 and ask the question, what are you going to do about your dislikes? Now, and then built into this project that happens, that's the natural product of this, are the pride, self-esteem, and value. Empowering our young people to understand how they can do, they can have, they can become whatever they put their minds to, especially if we do it collaboratively. So, that's been proven in our history anyway, even in the civil rights movement. When we do things collectively, we can achieve great things. So that's kind of the academic sustainability program in a nutshell. And we've done pilot studies, and now we're looking to do it on a larger scale with the St. Louis Public Schools, hopefully beginning this fall. We have to have the concept has been approved by the superintendent. We just have to have our curriculum improved, and we'll get that done over the summer.
So Chuck, that's one of the things he wanted to is put God in there, okay, to take some kids over there.
Okay, so yeah, so at the end, so when we're looking at a 12-week program now. So when we develop this into a year-long program with 10 to 20 young men, at the end of that program, that's where the trip to Ghana comes in to kind of secure and have further impact on the learning experience. And when you go to a country in Africa and see how well received you are, by the Africans, it can be an amazing experience. So, the problem is that when a lot of Africans come to this nation, this country, they look at the African Americans and with disdain, or just like, disbelief that we have access to education, knowledge, technology in this country that our people help develop, and we, for the most part, are not taking maximum opportunity, not taking advantage of the maximum. How can I say this? Not taking full advantage of the opportunity to access these resources.
Okay, so Chuck, in a nutshell, I'm going to ask the chamber later on, okay, we can kind of access them, assist them, we're going to Ghana, okay, to make that a reality.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. We'll certainly keep you posted, keep you informed, and let you know when we see that part coming.
Now, I've said that, Brother Clive, Chuck is our global ambassador. How many times have you been to Africa, Chuck?
I didn't even count, probably about 15.
Okay.
So let me ask this, Chuck. Have you begun to, or have you ever thought about, or in the process of buying property there and building homes?
Yes, and our approach is a little bit different. We have about 3 projects, where one is a development project where there were about 50 townhomes, and it was done with a young man that his parents were Ghanaian, and they sent their kids to America for education. And these two brothers ended up at the top schools, I think Stanford, somewhere like that, maybe an MBA. And one of them decided he wanted to go into venture capital, and the other one wanted to come back. So essentially they went out and raised $20 million, took about 300 acres of their family's property and developed it into a like a townhome community. And they funded it with African Americans. And there is a development near, not too far from Cape Coast in Ghana, in that area, that is being turned into a smart city. And there's a lot of investment there. So smart city is everything from technologically smart, not to mention the latest designs, but it is a live, eat, work, play type environment that would have convention meeting facilities, retail stores, hotel and convention casino type stuff. That's not too far from Cape Coast. And then there's some other real estate development stuff out by the water. There's some beautiful beaches there. And that's just in Ghana. There's tremendous agricultural development that's really underdeveloped type of opportunities. We have a tendency, I think, as human beings all over the planet, we kind of take some things for granted until you don't have them anymore, or someone is trying to take them away from you. And there's been a aggression for Chinese version of capitalism that's come in there and basically taken swaths of land and natural resources and basically said, no, we're just going to take this, and they'll ship raw materials to China, process them, and then sell them back to the Africans. And it's taken them a while to catch up, but because of that, there is a much more urgent and willing interest in partnering with other Afro-descendants, and principally African American, but certainly, we're the descendants of the Maroons. They're all over the world, but particularly through the Caribbean and South America, in addition to North America. And those are the ones that we're most familiar with. But yes, the opportunity is there and the interest is there. And along the same lines of what you were speaking about, that maybe it's the apocalypse, maybe it's the Holocaust. There are all these things that are coming together that are saying, how many passports you got? This is like another conversation, because there are, whomever they may be, but there are those people that don't want America to be dominant. They don't believe that the style and culture that we have, in theory, of being loving, caring, welcoming, our borders always open type of mentality. And others want to control it. And it's kind of like that one world theory or concept. And we're starting to see elements of that now. These viruses and illnesses and, all those things you named, I was thinking about, well, check that box, check this box, check that box about food shortages, about economic downturn, about health challenges and issues, even back to the fundamental rights of freedom afforded with religion, education, and political opinion. So we're hitting on all those on a number of different topics.
Yes.
So anyway, Clyde, as a matter of fact, I'm going to get you in touch together, so you guys can talk, how we can work together with you, okay? Well, right now, Chuck, could you be so kind as to kind of express your thoughts about, what's going on in Texas right now, and give us an update with the chamber, because we got lots of stuff that's going on.
I'm really troubled by it, to be honest with you. I'm very disturbed. We're seeing the product of almost a collective infrastructure breakdown. You know, Texas, I mean, and I do believe God has a hand in this. Texas is one of the most pro-gun states. And to see what happened, how it happened, and just so innocently, I mean, the victims are so innocent. You know, it's really troubling. So we're seeing a catastrophic failure of the system. You know, just, I mean, think of all the things in the world, all the places, all the elements, all the ticks of the clock, but those 3 to 5 minutes that teacher propped that door open totally defeated all this preventative mentality and systems and all these things in place. So you take that. That was one little thing that just happened in that moment, those 3 to 5 minutes that door was propped open. Of all the places in the universe, here comes a gunman with over 1,000 rounds, weapons, and on a mission to just to go in there and just rain havoc. So not only that, but you know, the whole thing. He found his grandmother. You know, he had posted things online or been in group chats. The resource officer just happened to not be there at that moment. The police came and, you know, were outside. 19 of them were in the hallway for 40 minutes. And, you know, they didn't even hear, were they hearing shots? Was he still killing people? You know, what were they thinking? What were they doing? And we already have a precedent for this. We had this discussion in Florida. There was a policeman there, a resource officer or something, that he was scared to go in. You know, and yeah, and so we had that. The guy was chastised or fired or whatever the case may be, but it doesn't correct the problem. Maybe you would have hoped it would have prevented it from happening again, but here it is. It happened in a huge way here. So we talk about the politics of it. Not that we talk about the politics, but the politics of it. So we talk about the gun lobby and laws and legislation. But then you get into mental health, and you get into and this school had just had a armed assailant or whatever drill. You know, they had just had the drill, I think, in March on what to do and how to do it. And you know, maybe they were complacent, or maybe, you know, one little rule about the doors being locked. And so what does the gunman do? He comes in on an open, unlocked door, and the first thing he does is what? He locks the door. He locks the door. It's not funny, but they couldn't get in because he locked the door. Mm-hmm. You know, that is like, you know, just want to bang your head against the wall. Come on, folks, like, what are we doing? You know, and the parents outside having to go through that, knowing there were live executions going on, and the police are about to arrest them because they're trying to get in there, and the police are approaching it as a barricade scenario, not to mention what was really happening of a gunman on the loose. You know, so we're going to be talking about this one for a long time, and sadly enough, there's nothing that's happened that says it's the last one. There's nothing that says that this can be prevented now. So, you know, that's just my personal opinion. I think, though, ultimately, if you say, what can we do as an organization, what can we do as a unified people of the republic, if you want to call it that, we have to, again, hold these people that we elect to office, we've got to hold them accountable. You know, whether we care about the gun lobby or not, they're going to have guns, but see, everybody should have a gun. So maybe it's time to update the Second Amendment. Or maybe you can leave it like it is and just put it that you have to earn the right, or you've got to prove that you got the right. You know, it's this is really bad, and so this what was he, 18 years old? He's buying assault rifles, so he bought one, and I guess a week later went back and bought another one.
And bought it on time.
Yeah.
In installments.
Doing anything more to get more guns out there. The other thing that really struck me about this is that I try to pronounce it. Ulad, the name of the city. It's not that far from the border.
Right,
You know,
I said that.
and those parents and those children were articulate. I thought they were polished. I thought they represented themselves well. They were not stereotypical just got across the border or just got here type people. They were very American in their disposition, and it was compelling.
Yeah. Very well developed, educated community.
Yeah. I mean, and trying to get an education, trying to do the right thing.
And that's almost reverse what we see here in St. Louis sometimes.
Yeah. But there are
An 18-year-old was sent in there by somebody. A contract.
Well, you know, that's a good point, because that just says dial the clock back a week or so to Buffalo.
2 weeks.
Now, that one is very suspicious. And I'll tell you why. One, nobody really wanted to talk about it, but the brother that was the policeman he was moonlighting. He was on his part-time job as a security guard at the grocery store. That gentleman was filing for his patent on hydro energy for automobiles.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that.
He had figured out how to run his truck on water. And he was filing the patent for it, and he had it all ready to go, and he made a video. It's on YouTube. You can see him of how he's showing you the hydraulics or however the thing worked. And so that's one thing. So then the next question becomes, why did this gunman have to drive 200 miles to find some black folks? You know, what was that about? You know, and you can come up with it, spin it, add to that and abbreviate, because you can go all through that, because you couldn't find no black people nowhere else. You drove 200 miles, a 4-hour drive almost to Buffalo, New York, and went to that particular location.
But
then, and then, so they didn't touch him. They did not touch. They didn't push him to the ground. They didn't touch him at all. He's up, walking ahead. He's eating. I mean, they might have taken him to McDonald's. I don't know, but that was suspicious, or let's just say abnormal. And then lastly, this is the one where you just had to really go, Elon Musk comes out with his hydro car this week. So you could say that an investor in that, or one of his people, may not be Elon. He shouldn't be intimidated by some little black guy inventor doing something out of his garage.
Yes.
But an investor or somebody say, oh no, we're not going to let that Negro have that.
Well,
go ahead. You can have, but you know, you can look at it a number of different ways, but it's like a damn shame.
Yeah, I read an article just yesterday or this morning that hydro-powered automobile, there was another guy who happened to be white that developed the same technology back in the 1970s. And somehow he disappeared with that technology. You know, and we know the petroleum industry was behind it. Also back in the 70s, there were some guys in Florida that took a Mercury Capri, little sports car, and did some mechanical changes to it where it would get over 50 miles to a gallon. He disappeared with that technology.
No.
But yeah, it's interesting how that all came about. And
but gentlemen, I tell you what, something else came about that's all time on the clock on the wall. Okay. Well, Chuck, Reverend Clyde, we want to thank you, Rev and Scott for their input, but Chuck, as usual.
Amen.
Okay.
amen.
Okay, Chuck, you get up and give us your final thoughts.
Everyone just have a safe, reverent, peaceful holiday, and as we always say, keep alert, stay woke, do your own homework, research your own news, stay positive, and continue to tune in and share your thoughts and ideas with you. All the reverends, we appreciate you so much. Let's continue to help each other. God bless and thank you.
Amen. Continue with your face mask, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck, for your insightful input, man. It's and I would like to at some point speak to you again, especially about some of the activities going on in Africa.
Oh, you will.
You're more than welcome, and Ira will make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Amen. All right, thank you.
Well, then we're going to say this is lunch with the Zimmer Kim Commerce on a beautiful Memorial Weekend. By the way, people not aware, the first Memorial Day was 1968 on May the 30th. On that note, my name is Aaron Folks, that's Chuck, that's Scott, that's Rev, and that's Reverend Clyde. Have a beautiful weekend and life is good. Please wear your face mask.